And good morning. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. It is Thursday. That means it's time for Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. Every week we team up with the Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County, as well as the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, to try and get three fugitives. We feature three a week, trying to get them off a street into a courtroom, innocent until proven guilty. But boy, they are facing some very serious charges. Let's bring in, as we do every week, from the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, Detective Red Dyer. How are you today, Red?
Howdy, Dan. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
It's good to have you. I'm ready to get some fugitives off the street in front of a judge. Red, why do we do this every week? Why is this so important that we get out to the public and get the message out?
Well, Dan, as we discuss every week, Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County recognizes the value in the eyes and ears of our community. We want them to help us solve these crimes, to get justice for these victims, to build community trust, clean up their neighborhoods, and potentially earn them a opportunity at a reward, which we'll
Yeah.
get into a little later.
I love the idea of cleaning up our neighborhoods. Nobody wants a fugitive living across the street, down the street, hiding out. So why not make that one anonymous phone call and do just that? Red, let's get right to it. Let's get to our first case here. Pretty serious. Lots of our crimes, actually, in fact, I think most of our crimes today involve a weapon. Today it involves, or at least this case allegedly involves, a gun. Let's get to the case of Kevin Joyner. What do we know?
Well, Dan, Mr. Joyner is wanted by the Cleveland police in connection with an aggravated robbery that occurred in April of this year. According to reports, the victim in that case went into a store, and when they exited the store and returned to their car, they were carjacked at gunpoint and struck in the face with a firearm. Very scary and dangerous situation, Dan. Kevin is believed to be affiliated with the Heartless Felons gang. I know we've discussed several fugitives in our previous segments that have been, and should be considered armed and extremely dangerous. I also wanted to note, Dan, he has a warrant with the Adult Parole Authority as well, so he should be considered a violator at large. He's 6'1" and 179 pounds and was last known to be staying in the 3200 block of West 122nd Street in Cleveland.
Red, in our next case, and we've had this before, where several or at least multiple individuals are accused in the same crime. Some of them will get picked up and are sitting in a jail cell, but it makes it easier on the court system if every single individual involved in that alleged crime is picked up. That way, the one case in court can move forward with all the defendants. That's what we have here. And unfortunately, this is a rape with multiple defendants, according to Crime Stoppers. Let's get to the case of Charles Mendenhall. What do we know?
Well, Dan, Charles Mendenhall is wanted, as you stated, on a rape and felonious assault case that originates out of the Northeast Ohio Human Trafficking Task Force. We're talking about some serious charges, Dan. His co-defendants on this case have been apprehended, and now he's the only remaining individual at large. So we're looking for the community's help to help bring justice to this victim. Charles has a criminal history with the Sheriff's Department, to include a guilty plea to attempted aggravated assault in 2023, and reports in that case state that he punched the victim, held them down, and stabbed them in the leg with a steak knife. He's approximately 5'5" and 210 pounds. He has a Black Gangster Disciples tattoo on his left arm. He was last known to be staying in the 2600 block of Station Ave in the city of Cleveland, but may also have ties to the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and we know when these individuals, as if they were involved in a crime with other people, if they start getting picked up, it's a pretty good likelihood that they're going to try and get out of town before they get arrested. So any information on Charles Mendenhall, if he is in our area, if he has run to Pennsylvania, would really help bring some closure, at least get some justice in that case. Let's get to our third and final fugitive. Yet another weapon. This time it's a butcher knife. We've seen all kinds of knives used in crimes here on Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. Let's get to the case of Angela Thorne. What do we know?
Well, Dan, Miss Thorne actually has two warrants with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department, the most serious of which is a felonious assault case, where it's alleged in the indictments that Angela used a butcher knife to attack the victim. She also has a theft case where it's alleged she stole $1,000 of merchandise from a department store and attempted to load it into a truck. She has an extensive history with the Sheriff's Department dating back to 2005, so she's no stranger to police, Dan. Actually, in 2006, she pled guilty to attempted felonious assault and failure to comply with a police officer, where, you can believe, reports state that in that case, she ran a stop sign and almost struck a police cruiser. She then sped off with the police giving chase. She almost caused several accidents until she was finally apprehended when her car broke down. She's 5'4" and 140 pounds and has a tattoo on the right side of her neck. Last known to be staying in the 3300 block of West 62nd Street in the city of Cleveland.
Never a good idea to run from police, an even worse idea when you have a car that doesn't have the ability to do so. When you break down in the middle of a chase, makes it pretty easy for authorities. We like that. Red, let's get into this discussion of why people should help and should feel a little bit less nervous about helping. We understand nobody wants to be a snitch. Nobody wants their name attached to these cases. When Angela Thorne gets caught, you don't want her to know that you were the one that called, and you maybe even picked up a reward on that. Why does Crime Stoppers work, and why should people feel at ease when they call your number?
Well, Dan, they should feel at ease because we take their privacy and the protection of their identity extremely seriously. In fact, when you call, we don't record the phone call. We don't have caller ID. We don't take down any phone numbers. We don't want any of your identifying information. In fact, everything that we do through you is referenced through an anonymous tip number. So your information isn't exchanged with us, ever.
And I love that because there's no court papers, there's no documentation that has your name on it that's going to make their way back to one of these individuals. When we have people like a heartless felons gang member being featured here, I wouldn't want them knowing that I called in, but I could feel comfortable calling Crime Stoppers because they're not going to take my name. They're going to give me a reference number. Think about sending a package. When you get that tracking number, you get to call back in about 45 days. You give them that tracking number and say, hey, I made that tip. Did it bring in one of the fugitives? Was there an arrest made? And you could get up to a $5,000 reward. Money is a big motivator. We know it works. Because Crime Stoppers has handed out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to people who have made calls that could be you this week. Detective Red Dyer, when we remind people of that $5,000 reward, what do you like them to know?
That crime doesn't pay, but Crime Stoppers does.
Crime Stoppers absolutely does pay. Don't mess with the warrant unit for Cuyahoga County. They are very talented, as Red reminds us just about every week. We have a very good success rate of our fugitives being apprehended, turning themselves in after being featured here on Channel 19. And Red and Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County are a big part of that. Detective, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us yet again this week.
It's been a pleasure, Dan.
All right, take care. That's going to wrap it up. 3 more fugitives on the run. They've been served notice. You may want to just turn yourselves in. Somebody's going to call. Somebody's going to make some money and get that reward. If we have any other breaking news, it'll be here on our digital platforms. Our 11 o'clock news just 20 minutes away. I'll be anchoring that on CW43, and then our noon news on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19. Let's go get them.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.
I forgot.